The cost of living is on the rise just about everywhere throughout the country, but today let's focus on two different states. One that has experienced huge ups and downs in growth compared to a state with slower and steady growth, to see which one has the best cost of living. Pennsylvania, which is known for very slow, consistent growth over the years, compared to Texas, which has experienced tremendous growth since around 2019 to 2020, but that growth has since slowed down. So let's dive into which state has the best cost of living, broken down into multiple different cost of living categories. Starting with the overall ratings for both of these states, WalletHub.com ranked every state in the country by factors such as affordability, economy, education, health and safety, and overall quality of life. They rated Pennsylvania the 14th best state overall, and Texas came in at the 37th best overall. So to be able to break down the overall cost of living in both of these states, let's first start with what it comfortably costs you to live in both of these two states. According to ZipRecruiter.com, $51,122 is the average salary needed to live in Pennsylvania, and $52,774 a year is needed in Texas. But of course, take these comfortable salaries with a grain of salt, because of course it drastically depends on where within both of these states you end up living. So that comfortable salary can change drastically town by town. Starting with the housing costs of both of these states. But before we get into that, if you're thinking about making the move to Pennsylvania, I would love to help you find your perfect home. All of my contact information is below. Let's get started. The average price of a home in Texas is $307,038, and the values have risen 1% over the last year. In Pennsylvania, the average sales price of a home is $266,366, and values have risen 5.8% over the last year. These statewide averages can drastically change as you get into the more specific towns, counties, and zip codes within both of these states. So again, it really depends on where within these states you're ended up moving to. For example, it's very likely you could find a home in both of these states below the average cost, but also into the multi-millions as well. It really depends. The housing markets in both of these states could not be any more different. We have Texas, which has seen a huge booms and pretty big busts looking back over the last 50 or so years, compared to Pennsylvania, which might not see the huge explosive growth that Texas has in the past, but we also don't have the significant dips like some of the more risky markets throughout the country. For example, from 2020 to 2021, most of the Texas real estate markets experienced growth ranging from 20 to 35% growth in a single year, and that was due to all of the people that were moving away from their states from the states such as California around that time. That exponential growth has slowed drastically since then, as Texas is now on track for around a 2.8% growth this year, compared to PA, which is on track for 7% growth this year. Another cost of living category that we cannot miss talking about is the gas prices and the gas tax. Gas prices obviously fluctuate day by day, but at the time of making this video, the price per gallon in Pennsylvania is $3.69 per gallon, compared to Texas at $3 a gallon. Shockingly enough, Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas taxes in the entire country, with a rate of 58 cents per gallon, compared to Texas, which is only 20-cent gas tax per gallon. So even with Pennsylvania having a significantly higher gas tax, the overall price per gallon isn't really that much of a significant difference compared to the other states where the price per gallon is around $1 or $2 more. So although PA does have the higher gas tax, as you can see, if Pennsylvania didn't have that gas tax, or if it wasn't as high, it would be significantly below the cost of most other states. Next, let's go over one of the most important cost of living categories, which are the taxes. Texas is one of the few states that doesn't have any statewide income tax, compared to Pennsylvania, which has a flat rate income tax at 3.07%, meaning no matter how much you make all throughout Pennsylvania, everyone is taxed at the same 3.07% rate, as opposed to most other states, which that rate will fluctuate depending on how much you make. When it comes to property taxes, and side note, that can drastically change depending on where within these states you end up moving to. Of course, every every township, county, and zip code could have different property tax rates, but as an overall statewide average rate, Pennsylvania has an effective average property tax rate of 1.46% compared to Texas at 1.69%. The statewide sales tax in Texas is 6.25% compared to Pennsylvania at a flat rate of 6% sales tax. So yes, Texas does have the huge benefit of having no income tax, but on the other side of things, with Texas having a higher sales tax and a higher property tax, those taxes kind of offset not having any income tax compared to Pennsylvania, which have a moderate amount of tax for all three of those categories. Although Texas was the attractive and affordable option for many people that wanted to leave their home state around 2020 to 2021, where there was thousands upon thousands of people moving to Texas each and every week, that growth has significantly slowed down because now they're experiencing quite a bit of affordability issues. So besides just the overall main cost of living categories, now let's go over some of the everyday expenses so you can see kind of what those would be like as a comparison between both of these states. According to bestplaces.net, if the entire country had a cost of living basis of 100, Pennsylvania came in at 5.4% below the national average at 94.6, and Texas 5.8% below the national average at 94.2. For the rest of these everyday cost of living categories that we're just about to go into, keep in mind that this of course varies drastically depending on where within the state you end up moving to. Of course, every town could have different costs for groceries, gas, etc. The overall grocery cost of living category in PA comes in at 100.3 compared to Texas at 93.7. Pennsylvania's health comes in at 101.1, and for Texas it came in right at 100. We already know that the housing is more affordable in PA, so we'll skip that category and go down to the utility score in Pennsylvania at 98.2, and in Texas a bit higher at 99.2. With transportation and miscellaneous in PA, we have 104 and then 101.5, but in Texas we have 103.3 and 83.2. These states are very close when it comes to the overall cost of living in some of the major categories such as taxes and also the everyday expenses such as healthcare, groceries, utilities, etc. So if you're planning on making the move to Pennsylvania, I would love to help you find your perfect home here. All of my contact information is below and in the description down below as well. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you over on this next video.